Last Thursday night, the Beatles were in town and packed our show out there with about over 14,000 children, a great majority being girls. Now, these are the youngsters from the better homes, because the underprivileged cannot afford $5 a seat, and the reservations were made last April. Some of the parents were there, most of them were not. The youngsters came there to see the Beatles. Now, this court is not a prude, and we know that each teenage group wants to produce its own music, its own dancing, its own heroes. Our own folks, we remember the days of the other heroes who were before us. But the question is, can you take 14,000 children and pack them in to one stadium? And they know they're coming there to get hysterical. And the whole show was based upon producing hysteria, the preliminary acts as well as the Beatles. And then these girls went into a coma. They ranted, they fainted, their eyes were glassy. Some pulled their hair out, some tore their dresses. They threw notes of a very undesirable nature on the stage. Some girls, after the performance, kissed the stage, and some went up and kissed the very seats in which the Beatles had sat. And with this, one father brought a child who was epileptic, and the child had an epileptic fit. And some of the parents took their children home before the show was over because it was, as some people say, unbelievable. Now, what is the juvenile court to do with this? We don't expect to see girls or boys come in here from that show because of something wrong they did. But that show has sown certain seeds in these youngsters. And the seeds could be of a physical nature where they could be impaired with it, could be of a mental situation, girls going out on dates, their misconception of what this whole problem is about. And there's so many other factors that come into this that we in the juvenile court have to try to prevent anything of a nature that's going to cause trouble. I think we can all agree that the show was not good, and if it's not good, why must we have it? Why must some parents be there to witness this thing and regret it, and why must other parents let children go to a place where if they would have seen the show, they would not have permitted? I believe that a dictionary definition of a Beatle is a bug. And of course, the bug also means being crazy. And I don't think the Beatles are bugs. They've done very well. They've made a fortune off of this whole hysteria created by the media of communication and other means, and the children were conformists, and they fit right in us. It became very stylish to get tickets for the show, and if you didn't see the Beatles, you were not in style. I realize that. But I think the parents are bugs to let their children go to a production like this kind, not knowing what it was like, or if they did know what it was like, to expect their child to have such a horrible result placed on them. One newspaper said that the girls stripped off the veneer of civilization. I don't know if I would go that far, but if you could see how uncontrollable they were, the glassy eyes, the physical and mental condition, you would agree that the show was not...
No other event had a greater effect on modern popular culture than Beatlemania. It permeated every level of society on a global scale. The Fab Four were demigods to an entire generation. It has been 30 years since the Beatles first burst upon the popular music scene, but nothing, it seems, can diminish our fascination with them. They revolutionized the dress, hairstyles, attitudes, and beliefs of an entire generation, and their impact on the lives of fans born even after they disbanded is powerful as well. Unlike almost anyone else who made their mark as popular entertainers, the Beatles were unique in their ability to so accurately funnel their life experience into both their music and engaging public statements. As armchair philosophers, the Fab Four weren't bad, honestly shoveling their hard-won perceptions year after year into everything they did. In comparison to today's self-involved crop of empty-headed crooners, John, Paul, George, and even Ringo have generally had something interesting to say. As George Harrison once commented when asked why the so-called current potentate pop stars didn't really impart too much of importance in their music anymore, he reeled off, "Because they don't know anything, do they?" Apart from the marvelous music, the boys had quite a lot of interest to say as well. Remember John's headline-grabbing bet-ins, Paul's public statements on the relative merits of all-natural LSD, or George's stint as the materially exhausted wannabe Hare Krishna? All things considered, the Beatles were really quite wonderful geezers, rank amateurs as aspiring gods, but insightful musicians with open hearts and minds to match. Here then is an evening's worth of entertainment of the really fine things the Beatles and their friends have had to say over the last 30 years on such varied subjects as God, drugs, music, their acrimonious breakup, and even themselves. This collection of interviews with the Fabs and their mate is the end result of years of peeking in on the Beatles' turbulent lives through any window I could find. Next is a lively Beatles press conference which took place in Kansas City in 1964.
I'll direct my question to Paul. Have the receptions in the United States been what you expected them to be or had hoped for?
They've been better, actually, because somebody told us they'd be good. Excuse me. Your move. Somebody said they'd be good, but these have been marvellous, fantastic.
What has pleased you most about the reception?
The bigness of them, the largeness.
The immenseness,
the magnitude, the multitudinousness. Wonderful.
I asked the Beatles, was there any place in America that you wanted to see but did not get a chance to, or will not have?
New Orleans is one of them.
Yes?
I'd like to know, do you fellas hear what you're playing when the screens go on, and how do you keep going together?
We've heard it before anyway. It sounds louder to people who haven't been to the shows before. We're immune,
Yes?
Fuzz.
What prompted you to throw that scotch and coke at the reporter in Los Angeles?
Well, he was a very nasty young man.
Old man.
How so?
Pardon?
How so?
Well, he'd been told to leave the place anyway, you see, and he insisted on jumping around trying to take pictures, and we couldn't see as it was without some idiot flashing in front of us, so I thought I'd baptize him.
It's assumed that you will sing for quite some time yet, but what do you plan to do after
the bubble burst?
breaking up as a group?
None of us made any plans, but John and I will probably we have this one every day, John and I will probably carry on songwriting, and George will go into basketball. Or roller skating, I don't have to decide with that.
Yes.
Would you show us your grey hair?
No. Only if you show him yours. It all up, you see. And we're on telly.
What do you do about barber shops when you're on?
We never go
don't
to
do
them
anything
anyway.
about them when we're not on
Don't
tour.
even
Think about them.
Is this the highest guarantee you've had in the United States?
I think so. Is it, Derek?
Yes.
Very high, really.
Highest ever in the world in the toe. That may not be so. The toe, correct.
Did you talk
That's correct.
to Finley?
Back to the hairdo one, what care and treatment does the hair get?
Just a bit of
Gets
combing,
washed,
bit of combing, bit of washing.
Nothing special.
No treatment. We never put any hair oil on it because it makes it go funny, you see. It makes mine go funny.
No.
We're from PICK in Springfield, Missouri, and it was rumored all over town a couple of days ago that you all had tried to get reservations to stay at one of the hotels in Springfield, and that you were turned down repeatedly. Is this true?
No.
Well, we don't make them anyway, and the ones that have turned us down, well, it's, it's their privilege.
And we're not going to Springfield anyway, so we don't have a hotel there.
KUDL News, what is one question you would like to be asked at a press conference that probably nobody has ever asked you?
Can't think of one.
Oh, no.
I think everything's being asked.
George?
Yes.
Whatever came of the car wreck that you had in London? You had an accident with someone.
Oh, it wasn't a wreck. I only just tapped into some fella and knocked the headlamp in. But you see, when the further away you are, the worse the damage appears, you see. I mean, over here, the car was a write-off, but actually it wasn't. And it was fixed within 3 days.
Did you have to pay anything?
No. The other fella's insurance company paid because it was his fault. I'm a good driver, so...
We wondered, considering making America your home, would you consider that?
No. Well, because England's our home, We like the place, but not to live in.
How much of the hysteria that greets you do you feel is real, and how much is pretended by the little girls that adore you?
You can't tell. Doesn't matter.
There's a lot of it that the papers, help create. It's probably not real, but there's also a lot, I think.
What's the origin of the name Beatles? Why did you choose that?
John thought of it.
I just thought of it, there was no reason. Same as you pick a name for anything. Really.
How does your wife feel about the girls screaming and running after you?
Oh, she knows they never catch me, so...
Paul, how did you...
Ringo, are you going to have your tonsils taken out, and do you have that offer yet from a girl to send the tonsils to her?
Yeah, I'm going to have them out, and we got the telegram, but I don't think I'll give them to her.
We're going to auction them off.
It's disgusting.
We'd like to know if there was ever any truth to the rumor, John, that you might leave the group.
No. Don't know where it started, it just sort of appeared somewhere.
We can't get rid of him anyway.
America? Oh, Australia.
Did you make any new records
You got it.
while you were in Hollywood?
No.
We did do an album, but it was only for a souvenir.
It's not for general release.
Not for sale. It was so terrible, that's why.
After you return home, where will your next tour take you?
Britain.
Around Britain.
We do a month's tour of Britain.
Is there anything you wanted to do in Kansas City on your visit here that you didn't get a chance to do? Anything particular that you wanted to see, or anyone you wanted to visit by any chance?
No, I didn't hear about anybody we know. So.
Truman?
Not particularly, no.
Have you bought any clothes in the United States, or what things you wear from the...
This
American.
This is a
I bought
fellow
4
described it
shirts.
on the radio yesterday as a typical Liverpool Dockers outfit, so got it in Key West.
Do you ever wear a tie?
Me? Yeah, when I can find it.
I've got one of
Never
his
find
suits.
my stuff.
John,
What?
I've got one of his suits.
How much did the United States government
Nothing.
What about
The British government
Oh,
are
they're
getting it.
getting a loss,
We'll end up with about $10 when we get home.
Springfield? Sure that you're all writing books, but what are the subject matter?
No, John's the only one who writes.
We haven't learned yet.
Since your return to America this time, have you been asked to reappear on Ed Sullivan's program?
I believe so, yes. I'm not sure about that.
I don't think we've got time, though.
We will.
Yes, it hasn't been fitted in yet.
Well, it won't fit in now.
You were talking earlier that the two of you might continue on and the rest of you break up the act. Is there a date set for this, that you are going to break up?
No, all I meant was that if we do break up, he asked when we do break up, which it's got to happen, that John and I will probably carry on songwriting. We didn't mean singing or anything.
How long do you think that it will be before it does happen?
Another role than me.
No idea, really. Could happen tomorrow, after the Kansas City day.
Playboy here that wants to know if you're doing the Playboy. Would any of you care to give us any of your views, I don't mean to be smart by this, by anything on religion or politics?
Well, we're not interested in either.
No, that's about it.
Would you consider, or is it being planned that a movie will be made of your whole life, school, Having clubs?
No, they couldn't put that kind of thing on the screen. Not yet, anyway.
One of you, I can't remember which one, said that to you, politics, you didn't like politics. It was like beer. You didn't like the taste. Yet, when you were in Chicago, you made the comment that if you were going to be for anyone in the presidential election, you'd be for LBJ.
We didn't, we said Eisenhower.
No, she...
What about in your own country? You're going back to a general election campaign over there. The Tories have been pretty good.
We're not going to vote over there.
So of the Labour.
Well, I don't know enough about it. That's why I'm not voting.
None of us do, you know.
We don't follow it, you know.
If I can find out which one takes the least tax, I'll vote for them.
In New Orleans, you met with Fats Domino. Could you tell me how that meeting came about and what occurred?
Frogman Henry said, you know, he'd try and arrange for us to meet him because we've always liked him. And he brought him round with a friend of his, and we talked for about an hour and had a couple of shots taken for his kids.
Found him getting groceries in a store or something.
Had a sing-song with him.
Yeah, I lost it a year ago. I just get it back now, actually, for speeding 3 times. If they catch you 3 times, you lose it. And I got caught.
Wasn't fast enough.
Why did you want to go to New Orleans? What about the town?
Well, it's
the clubs and that.
You know, you just hear about New
Hear the
Orleans.
sounds, man.
The music?
Yeah. Well, you know, it's all good clubs and that.
Any questions from the elder gentleman over there? Any of you? Yeah?
What is your reaction to these girls who come up to your hotel room and tear up sheets and anything that you've discarded, or the cigarette butts that you leave around?
Well, they do it after we leave. It's all right, you know, if the hotel manager
Don't
doesn't
go up
mind.
there ripping them while we're still asleep.
With all the girls chasing all over the world, who's probably the most exciting woman you've met throughout the world?
Ringo's mother was pretty hot.
I'm joking, Elsie.
Yeah, we like American cigarettes and we smoke filters. But we're not advertising anybody's cigarettes unless they're going to give us a few million free.
Do you do anything for free at all?
Yeah, charity shows, that's about all.
I'd like to ask George, I heard that in the Lafayette Hotel in Atlantic City, a girl had climbed 8 stories on the side of the building, jumped in the window and grabbed you in your nightclothes, and then was arrested.
No, it's untrue. I heard a noise in the next room, but it was just policemen chasing her around, and she jumped on Ringo, actually.
When that bird was running around the room,
I was chasing her.
No.
No, he's not right.
No, we haven't got a script writer or anything for the next movie yet. Unless they got one while we were away. We were told 83 yesterday.
85.
85, sorry.
Million?
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it?
We're still touring.
What do you think with all the money you make?
Listen, yeah, we hear them every day on the radio.
I don't know.
With all the money that you make?
Nobody's made any
I'm going to
plans.
change all mine into cents, fill up a room and dive in it. Just going mad.
We were curious just how much money have you made?
None of us
We
know
don't
yet.
know yet.
A lot.
Our
We
accountant
have an
just deals with it, you know, nobody...
We can't find him at the moment. It's a lie.
Everywhere you go, you get tons of gifts, some good and some bad. Whatever becomes of all this?
Some of them get shipped to England. If we get cakes and that, we try and get the fella who's promoting the show to give them to hospitals because we can't eat all that cake.
How about personal effects like jewelry and that? Like
Well, I've got a case full, man. If you want to root through it, see what you like.
Just wanted to know.
I want to know about the schools and the poor fellas. Did they have any special musical training, musical background, how to sing?
None of us can read or write music.
We're all
We've all been to
self-taught.
school, you know, I mean.
All self-taught.
Ordinary
Lessons
education.
at school.
Oh, eh?
Which of you consider yourself the best singer or the best musician?
Bingo.
Well, I think John's the best.
No, I think you are.
No, John.
We don't consider
He's
it.
got soul. No, I don't think any of us are very good. Really?
Mr. Gunter, have you a question?
Enough to get round in the Reaper barn in Hamburg.
A lot of traveling the past years. I'd like to know, is there any particular place in the world that you like the most, you'd like to return to? Or do you still...
Britain.
England.
I'd return there.
On times off, I've read articles that you visit children's hospital. Have you visited any in America?
No. I've never visited one at all.
Well, there's a picture of you in one.
Where?
Children in the children's.
We've never been to
Oh,
one.
no, we had, while we were making a film, they brought up a lot of orphans
It was at Easter.
to see us.
We didn't go there.
Don't normally have time.
What?
To go to that.
We went to one hospital, I think, ages ago when some girl had hitchhiked to see us and somebody stabbed her on the way.
That's right, yes.
True.
With all your world travels, when do you have time for social activities?
When we're not touring. We don't tour all the time.
Around, you know.
About 3 more questions.
We tour about half the year, you know.
As idols, rather impressionable youngsters, do you ever feel a heavy responsibility watching the conduct you have?
No. Only towards the press. It's the only time we watch it.
Are you as closely guarded in England as you are here?
When
On
we're on
tour.
tour. If we're not on tour, they just leave us alone.
Mr. Gunter, question.
What do you think of the American press?
They're quite fair.
They're all nice.
Except for you.
Except for you.
Can't stand you anymore.
He's a good friend, really.
And one last one from you.
Paul, I noticed I saw pictures of your father, and I noticed that he had spinning hair.
Well, he's 65. What do you expect?
What would you do?
Just let it thin, you know.
Who cares, you know?
Okay.
Last Thursday night, the Beatles were in town and packed our show out there with about over 14,000 children, a great majority being girls. Now, these are the youngsters from the better homes, because the underprivileged cannot afford $5 a seat, and the reservations were made last April. Some of the parents were there, most of them were not. The youngsters came there to see the Beatles. Now, this court is not a prude, and we know that each teenage group wants to produce its own music, its own dancing, its own heroes. Our own folks, we remember the days of the other heroes who were before us. But the question is, can you take 14,000 children and pack them in to one stadium? And they know they're coming there to get hysterical. And the whole show was based upon producing hysteria. The preliminary acts as well as the Beatles. And then these girls went into a coma. They ranted, they fainted, their eyes were glassy. Some pulled their hair out, some tore their dresses. They threw notes of a very undesirable nature on the stage. Some girls, after the performance, kissed the stage, and some went up and kissed the very seats in which the Beatles had sat. And with this, one father brought a child who was epileptic, and the child had an epileptic fit. And some of the parents took their children home before the show was over because it was, as some people say, unbelievable. Now, what is the juvenile court to do with this? We don't expect to see girls or boys come in here from that show because of something wrong they did. But that show has sown certain seeds in these youngsters. And the seeds could be of a physical nature where they could be impaired with it, could be of a mental situation, girls going out on dates, their misconception of what this whole problem is about. And there's so many other factors that come into this that we in the juvenile court have to try to prevent anything of a nature that's going to cause trouble. I think we can all agree that the show was not good, and if it's not good, why must we have it? Why must some parents be there to witness this thing and regret it, and why must other parents let children go to a place where if they would have seen the show, they would not have permitted? I believe that a dictionary definition of a Beatle is a bug. And of course, the bug also means being crazy. And I don't think the Beatles are bugs. They've done very well. They've made a fortune off of this whole hysteria created by the media of communication and other means, and the children were conformists, and they fit right in us. It became very stylish to get tickets for the show, and if you didn't see the Beatles, you were not in style. I realize that. But I think the parents are bugs to let their children go to a production like this kind, not knowing what it was like, or they did know what it was like, to expect their child to have such a horrible result placed on them. One newspaper said that the girls stripped off the veneer of civilization. I don't know if I would go that far, but if you could see how uncontrollable they were, the glassy eyes, the physical and mental condition, you would agree that the show was not.
Well, it's a very great pleasure for us this evening to say hello to an up-and-coming Merseyside group, the Beatles. And I know their names, and I'm going to try and put faces to them. Now, you're John Lennon, aren't you?
Yes, that's right.
What do you do in the group, John?
I play harmonica, rhythm, guitar, and vocal. That's what they call it.
Harmonica, rhythm, guitar, and vocal. Then there's Paul McCartney, that's you.
That's me, yeah.
And what do you do?
Play bass guitar and sing, I think.
Oh,
that's what they say.
Quite apart from being vocal.
Yeah, well, yeah. Same thing.
Then there's George Harrison.
How do you do?
How do you do? What's your job?
Lead guitar and sort of singing.
By playing lead guitar, does that mean you're sort of leader of the group, or are you?
No, just... Well, you see, the other guitars, the rhythm.
Yeah.
Ting, 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 you see.
It's solo guitar, you see. John is, in fact, the leader of the group.
Yeah, I don't know whether we caught that or not, but I hope it went in. Yeah. And over in the background here, and also in the background of the group, but making a lot of noise, is Ringo Starr.
Hello.
You're new to the group, aren't you?
Yes, 9 weeks now.
Were you in on the act when the recording was made of Love Me
Yes,
Do?
I'm on the record.
You're on that disc.
I am. It's down on record, you know.
Now,
I'm the drummer.
What's that offensive weapon you've got there? Those are your drumsticks.
Well, it's just a pair of sticks a fan have just bought me, because we're going away, and they put my name on.
Yeah.
And it's good,
Well, you say you're going away. That leads us on to another question now. Where are you going?
Germany, Hamburg.
Yeah. Now, you have
2 weeks.
Standing engagements over there, haven't you?
Well, the boys have been there quite a lot, and I've been there with other groups, but this is the first time I've been there with the Beatles.
Well, Paul, you tell us, how did you get in on the act in Germany?
Well, it was all through an old agent. We first went there for a fellow who used to manage us, and Mr. Alan Williams of the Jacaranda Club in Liverpool, and he found the engagement, so we sort of went there, and then went under our own steam, as they say, afterwards, and we've just been going backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards.
You're not dizzy at all?
Well, yes, actually, yes.
Yes.
It's my left leg, the war.
George, were you brought up in Liverpool?
Yes, so far, yes.
Whereabouts?
Well, born in Wavertree and bred in Wavertree and Speak. Well, the aeroplanes are, yes, we are the aeroplanes.
Are you all Liverpool types then?
Yes.
Types, yes.
Liverpool types. Now, I'm told that you were actually in the same form as young Ron Wycherley now.
Ronald, yes.
Yes, now Billy Fury.
In St. Silas.
In which?
St. Silas.
Really?
Yes, I'm sure it was. Now,
it was. It wasn't Jingle Bell like you said in the Musical Express.
Oh.
No, that was
wrong.
that
was wrong.
St. Silas School.
Well, now I'd like to introduce, if I may, a young disc jockey who helps us out with programs at Cleaver and Clatterbridge hospitals. His name is Malcolm Threadgill. He's 16 years old, and I'm sure you'd like to ask some questions from the teenage point of view, Malcolm.
Yes, thank you. I understand you've made other recordings before on German label.
Yeah.
So, right, what ones were they?
Well, we did first of all, we made a recording with a fellow called Tony Sheridan. We were working at a club called the Top 10 Club in Hamburg, and we made a recording with him called My Bonnie, which got to number 5 in the German hit parade, but it didn't do a thing over here. It wasn't a very good record, but sort of the Germans must have liked it a bit, And we, begging your pardon, and we did an instrumental which was released in France on an on an EP of Tony Sheridan's, which George and John wrote themselves. But that wasn't released here. We've got one copy, that's all. It didn't do anything.
You composed P.S. I Love You and Love Me Do yourself, didn't you?
Yeah.
Who does the composing?
Well,
between you?
It's John and I. We write, sort of the songs between us.
Yeah.
It's we've sort of signed contracts and things to say that, if we
get
sort of
equal shares.
equal shares and royalties and things, so that really we just both write most of the stuff. George did write this instrumental, as we say, but mainly it's John and I. We've written over about 100 songs, but we don't use half of them. We just happened to sort of rearrange Love Me Do and played it to the recording people and P.S. I Love You, and they seemed to quite like it, so that's what we recorded.
And that was Paul McCartney telling you all about it.
Is there any more of your own compositions you intend to record?
Well, we did record another song of our own when we were down there, but it wasn't finished enough. So we'll take it back next time and see how they like it then.
Yeah.
Well, that's all from my end.
Well, thank you for asking the questions, Malcolm. Now, in closing, I would like to just ask you, we're recording this at Hume Hall, Port Sunlight. Did any of you... I'll start again in English. Yeah. Did any of you come over this side before you became famous, as it were? Do you know this district?
Well, famous, if being famous is being in the hit parade, well, we've been over here. We were here about 2 months ago. Been here twice, haven't we?
I've got relations here, Rock Ferry.
Have you?
Yes. Oh, all sides of the water,
Yeah, I've got a relation in Clawton Village.
Yes.
Upton Road.
Got a friend in Birkenhead.
I wish I had.
I know a man in Chester.
Now, that's a very dangerous thing to say. There's a mental home there, mate. Never mind. Peter Smethurst is here as well. I'll get my right teeth in.
Yeah, okay.
And he looks as though he's bursting to say a question.
Yeah, well, there's just one question I'd like to ask you. I'm sure it's the question everyone's asking there. I'd like your impressions on first appearance on television.
Well, strangely enough, we thought we were going to be dead nervous, and everyone said, suddenly, when you see the cameras, you realise that there were 2 million people watching, because there were 2 million watching that, people in places that we heard afterwards. But, strangely enough, it didn't come to us. We didn't think at all about that, and it was much easier doing the television than it was doing the radio. It's still nerve-wracking, but it was a little bit easier than doing radio because there was a full audience for the radio broadcast.
Do you find it nerve-wracking doing this now? Anyway, we hope we've got a full audience in both hospitals, Clatterbridge and Cleaver. And over at Cleaver Hospital, a certain record on parlophone, the top side has been requested for Eileen in Robert Koch ward from Maddie, and strangely enough, for Maddie from Eileen in the same ward. So perhaps the Beatles themselves would like to tell them what it's going to be.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be Love Me Do.
94949.
Love Me Do.
Quiet, folks. And I'm sure from them the answer is P.S. I Love You.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jim Stutzman. Yes, this afternoon in our Paris studios, we're visiting with 4 young men. And if I just mention their first names, such as Paul and George and Ringo and John, I doubt if you'd know about whom we're speaking. But if I said we're here this afternoon with the Beatles, and if we were in England, I think we'd get a great big rousing hurrah, wouldn't we, boys?
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's see. We have, to my right here, we have Paul McCartney. Now, Paul, to tell us, how did the Beatles get going? How did you start?
It's a funny story, really. It was back, it was back in the old days. We were all at school together, really. We grew up at school, teenage buddies and things. But, it developed from there, really.
Well, did you sing together around school?
Yeah, we were. George and I were at school together, and John was at the school next door, and Ringo was at Butlins, and we just started playing guitars and things, and it went on from there, really, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, you say those were the olden days. Now, within the past year, you have mushroomed and tremendously, almost out of sight in such popularity. What was the click? What levered this great rage for the Beatles?
Well, it's funny, really, now you mention that. But I think it was the Palladium show, the television show in England, and then following hot in the footsteps and we had the Royal Variety Command Variety Performance. It's difficult to say that, actually. No, Royal Variety Command Performance for the Queen Mother, Mm-hmm. And it all came up from there, really. The national newspapers got hold of it, and they got hold of Ringo, and Mike Brown found about it, yeah.
a lot of things, a lot of columnists and things got onto the idea and started calling it Beatlemania.
Well, let's ask a question here with George Harrison. George, what is the status of rock and roll in England today? Is that what you call your music?
No, not really. We don't like to call it anything, but the critics and, the people who write about it, they have to call it something. So they didn't want to say it was rock and roll because rock's supposed to have gone out about 5 years ago. And so they decided it wasn't really rhythm and blues, so they decided to call it the Liverpool sound, which is, it was stupid really, because as far as we were concerned, it was just, the same as the rock from 5 years ago.
Well, can you describe Liverpool sound then?
Oh, it's more like the old rock. It's just, everything's a bit louder, more bass and bass drum. And everybody sort of sings loud and shouts, and that's it.
Well, is the Liverpool sound, then, the sound in UK today, in England?
Yeah, well, that's, it's all the records now. Everybody's sort of making records in that style.
Well, let's ask Ringo here. Now, you're the drummer. We caught your act at the Olympia the other evening. How long have you been beating those skins?
Oh, about 5 years now. I've been with the boys about 18 months now. I've been with other groups before that. So that's 5 years.
Since you boys have gained your current popularity, have there been many other organizations trying to imitate you or perhaps take the thunder away from you? Let's ask John Lemon this.
Well, I suppose a couple of people have jumped on the railway carriage. I mean, the bandwagon. But it doesn't really matter, because it's flattery and it sort of promotes the whole idea of us. If we're away and there's a few little Beatles still going to remind people of us.
Well, Paul, let's go back to you for a moment. When anyone ever sees your pictures, the first thing that strikes them is naturally your hairdo. You've been referred to, or her don't. Yeah. Some people have written as though you were having the sheepdog cut, or perhaps an early Caesar. What do you call it, and how come you cut it that way?
Well, Bob, to us it just sort of seems a natural thing, really, because it all arose this. We came out of the swimming baths one day, and our hair sort of flops about after the swimming baths. Well, it stayed that way, you see, with nobody bothered to comb it, and it sort of stayed in a style. So we've never really called it anything. I don't know, until the papers got hold of it, and they called it the Beatles style. So I suppose we go along with them now, really.
Do you go to the barber at all?
Well, now and then, and do and don't.
Just to keep it trimmed?
Yeah, just to keep it trimmed. But sometimes we do it ourselves, Yeah, the other thing is that it's really only our eyebrows that are growing upwards.
Well, we've been told that in England today there's this Beatlemania going on. Now, what do you describe? What would you say Beatlemania is? That all the girls scream whenever they see you and they perhaps faint waiting in line? Let's be immodest a moment. What is the attraction, huh?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's that dressing gown. George's dressing gown is definitely a big attraction.
No, I don't think any of us really know what it is. We've been asked this question an awful lot of times, but we've never been able to come up with an answer yet, because I think it's a collection of so many different things, like happening to be there at the right time, at the right moment. It's the wrong face. but a little bit of originality in the songs, a little bit of a different sound. I don't know, it's an awful lot of things. Maybe the gimmick of the haircut as well, the look, getting into the national press at the right time. So it's an awful lot of luck.
All these things and more.
Well, you mentioned songs. Now, I understand you boys write your own material?
John and I write them. This is Paul speaking. John and I write.
Paul, yes. Well, how do you think of an idea? Do you get together regularly, or an idea pops in your mind, you say, let's sit down and do it?
If an idea does pop in your mind, then you do sit down and say, let's do it, yeah. But if there's no ideas, and say we've got to
we've been told we've got a recording date from about 2 days' time, then you have got to sit down and sort of slog it out. But you normally get, first of all, just a little idea, which doesn't seem bad. And you go on, and then it builds up from that. So it varies every time, though, really.
Well, Paul, we've seen you here at the Olympia. Can you compare the French audience with what you're familiar with back in England?
Well, there's a lot of difference, because in England, you see, the audience is a 75% female. Here, 75% male. And that's the main difference, really, because they still appreciate it, but you don't get the full noise and the atmosphere of a place.
No screams. No screams and fainting. Why is it 75% boys?
I don't know, but I think they don't let the girls out at night in France. One of the reasons.
I think it's your dressing room.
Somebody said that they still have to have chaperones, a lot of them, you see. Whereas in England, they're out. You know, and the boys, it's funny, it's the same in Germany. All the boys, you know, like the rock, and it's usually the same on the continent. I don't really know why.
Well, Paul, we see the I Want to Hold Your Hand is number 1 on the hit parade, and we have a copy of it here right now. So let's sit back for a moment and listen to it. How did you come to write that, I Want to Hold Your Hand?
Let's see. We were told, this was one of the songs that we were told we definitely have to get down to it. We had to get working. So we went and we found, it was an old disused house that we found. We were just sort of walking along with it. We just thought we've got to really get this song going. So we got down in the basement of this disused house, and there was an old sort of piano there. It wasn't really disused, the house, there was sort of rooms to let. We found this old piano, and we started banging away there, and we stayed there. And there was a little old organ there too. So we were just having this sort of informal jam session down there, and we started banging away. And suddenly, just a little bit came to us. I think it was just sort of the catch line. And so we started working on it from there, and we got our pens and paper out, and we just wrote the lyrics down. And eventually, we had some sort of a song. So we went back and we played it over to our recording manager, and he seemed to like it. So we recorded it the next day.
Do all your songs have a basic theme or story or message?
No.
Well, that's a quick
quick answer. They don't. But there's one thing that nearly always seems to run through our songs. People always point it out to us. That's the I and you and me always seems to be in the title. I want to hold your hand, she loves you, and love me do, and things like this. Well, I think the reason for that really is that we nearly always try and write songs which are a little bit more personal than others, you see. So by having these prepositions, whatever you call them, I and me and you, in the titles, makes the songs a little bit more personal. But I think that's the only sort of basic message that does run through our songs.
And you coined this, yeah, yeah, yeah. Isn't that really sweeping England right now? The phrasing, yeah, 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 on all the songs?
Yeah, well, that was the sort of main catchphrase from She Loves You. But we stuck that on, we'd written the song nearly, and then we suddenly needed more, so we had yeah, yeah, yeah. And it caught on, they used it for, if you're going to be with it or hip.
It's sort of a trademark for you boys now.
Yeah, we'll have to write another song with it.
Well, Paul, what do you think of your trip to the States? I understand in about a week or 10 days you're going to be on the Ed Sullivan Show. Could you tell us about it?
Yeah, that's right. We're going to do Ed Sullivan Show in New York, and we're taping one for later release sort of thing. And we're looking forward to those. Then we go down to Florida, Miami. Can't wait. And we do another Ed Sullivan there. But I think before that we do a Carnegie Hall, don't we? Yeah. We play on Carnegie Hall.
How were you selected for Ed Sullivan? Was he in England and caught your act or something?
Well, when we were flying back, this is the story we heard. We were arriving from Stockholm into London Airport, and at the same time the Prime Minister and the Queen Mother were also flying out, but the airport was just overrun with teenagers. There were thousands of them waiting for us to get back, and Ed Sullivan was supposed to have arrived at that time and wondered what was going on.
And, he found out it was us arriving. And also our manager went over to the States with another singer called Billy J. Kramer. And he did a couple of TV shows over there. And while he was over there, our manager got the bookings with Ed Sullivan. But he'd also heard of us from this London airport thing. And that's about it.
And how about a movie? Is there a movie in the future?
Yeah. We've been asked by United Artists to do a feature movie.
Will it be dramatic or just strictly wrapped around your singing?
No, we don't know yet, really, what it's going to be like. I don't think we'll have to do an awful lot of acting. I think it'll be written round the sort of people that we are, and there'll be 4 characters in it, very like us.
Well, do you plan to compose 2 or 3 songs specifically for the film?
Well, actually, we've got to compose 6 songs specifically for the film. We've got to get down to that, too. That's a job.
Then you boys really haven't had much of a chance to see Paris, have you?
No, not really.
Not really, no.
What do you think of it so far?
Well, it's nice, quite nice,
How about the French girls compared to the British girls?
Oh, we haven't seen any yet.
John?
Yeah, well, I'm married. Didn't notice them.
Oh, we'll go back to Paul then.
Yeah, I think they're great.
Oh, you're single?
Yeah, well, I think the French girls are fabulous.
But we have seen more French boys than French girls. I mean, we can't really tell.
Well, perhaps when you get to the Ed Sullivan show, there'll be more girls for you.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Any of you been to America before?
Yeah, me. I went in September just for a holiday for 3 weeks.
Just George Harrison. Well, I see our time is up, boys, and thank you very much, Beatles, for being our guest on AFN this afternoon on Weekend World. So it's on the line back to you, Jim, from Paris.
Hal later told a reporter with a Lowell, Massachusetts newspaper, "I scooped Ed Sullivan. I had called their agent to ask for an interview. He told me, look, you can come over, but I think they're going to pull your leg."
Quiet, kids! Hey, let the feasting begin. Unless you keep quiet, you can't even have it. Would you please shut up? Shut up. Please be quiet. Shut up! Shut up! No one to stand here until you're quiet. Please. Question, would you be quiet, sir?
Please sing something.
No! Sorry.
Next question.
No, we need money first. How much money do you expect to take out of this country? Nothing. Half a crown. $10.
Sorry, I can't.
Depends on the tax. You want to pay?
511.
How was your trip home?
Fine, very nice. A bit bumpy over Alaska, though.
Have you ever seen a reception like this in any of the...
Marvelous. We never had anything like it before. Fantastic.
No, it's the best ever we've ever had.
I don't think so. Not quite like this one. Nice to be here. Nice to be here. Great. It's not a good time.
Knowing whether they can tell us what they think they have.
We can't tell you. Wish we knew. No idea. Good press agent.
There's a question here. Go ahead, John.
Tell Murray to cut that crap out.
Cut that crap out. Crap out. Hey, Murray. Is that a question?
Does all that hair help you sing?
What?
Does all that hair help you sing?
Definitely, yeah.
Do you feel like Samson? If you lost your hair, you'd lose what you have?
Don't know.
There's a question here. How many are bald if you have to wear those things? All of us. I'm bald. You bald? Oh, we're all bald. Don't tell anyone, please. I'm deaf and dumb, too. Deaf and married. You're only a dad. Please, please.
Have the Beatles ever had a real quarrel?
Yes. Well, that. Anything, just the same as anybody else.
Is this a British consul now?
Not quite, no.
This Mr. Bamford, is it? Right, sir. British consul.
Have a jolly good cup of tea.
How many rings has Ringo?
Where in all have I got?
On his hand.
I've got 4 on these. I've got about 10 I'd wear, but I've had these 4 on for 3 years now. So I don't change them very often.
Marilyn.
Has Ringo ever written a song or does he play
Has Ringo ever written a song, or does he plan to?
I've written one, but we never seem to get round to recording it. A lot of people know about it, but we never recorded it.
Blackmail, isn't it? Let me ask you just in general, what do you think of these kind of festivals?
The most enjoyable.
Are you enjoying yourself?
Yes. I mean, we're not trying, or Do the Beatles have to go into the army?
No, the call finished.
Why not?
Finishes September 1939 if you're born then, and we're all born after that. We're all born 1940.
There's no draft anymore in England for anyone. In the hotel who claims to have written the words to I Want to Hold Your Hand.
We'll see him in court.
He was in Sydney last month.
Wrong. We don't.
Not
him and a million others that were first to play our records.
Was he really first?
Yes, that's true.
Well, there's a lot of people claim to be first, so we congratulate them all on their good choice.
Yes. Yes?
Who calls?
Lousy, says John. What is Paul drawing?
Various members of the press conference. He always does it.
How much have the Beatles made on the tour so far? Do they know?
A lot. Is that really something, huh?
We don't know an exact figure, but it's quite healthy.
Oh, dear.
Quite a healthy amount.
Thank you again.
Hang on.
Wrong.
Has John, or will John write the screenplay of the next movie? No. No. No.
Oh, sure, Fred. He asks this every day. It's going too far, Fred. We're going to have a laugh.
Yes, dear. Keep the noise down. Yes. What do they think about when they're imprisoned in their hotel room? More or less.
Think about anything.
Is that what you meant, madam? Yes.
We don't think about one thing. Well, some of us do. But just think about anything normal, you know.
Be quiet, madam. Yes. You have much nicer manners than the lady behind you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. What do the Beatles think of Cleveland Police Department? Why do you ask that question?
Oh, for them astounding it.
Why do you ask it?
They have been. Is your dad a policeman? No, they're very good. Yeah, they're being good.
Let me ask Ringo. Ringo, when's the last time you had your hair trimmed?
About 3 days before we came to America.
Didn't want to shock you with long hair.
Does John write about anybody he knows in his stories?
No, they're never fully about people. The only thing they take is somebody's name, you know, or somebody's character.
Should I ask the boys what they think of, first of all, Rolling Stones?
Pardon? Anytime, 5 to 6, I'm always in. Oh, well, see you later then.
John, what did you get some of the ideas for your book?
I don't know, we're getting a lot of plugs for the book, though, aren't we? Anywhere, you know. Any minute, it might be.
Gentlemen, could I ask you what city in this country you have enjoyed the most and which city you have disliked the most?
Oh, we had a good laugh in New York. Yeah. Bit of trouble in Jacksonville, it's so windy.
That's about it.
Which city did you like the best?
New York.
I like it more than Hawaii.
It's big, you know, we like big cities.
Lady here. We can't hear this lady. I'm sorry. Can you? Right.
Not in America.
No.
When they're at home, do they play darts?
No. No. We don't even play when we're not home.
Oh dear.
Right. Hey.
Right.
There's one. What, you mean American this morning or in England? No, English. There's one really called the Chance.
It's not the only one.
It's not the only one.
They don't think the phone goes Yes, I can't hear the question again.
Only buy coloured records.
Yeah, many.
Marvin Gaye,
Impressions, Temptation, Jimmy Reed,
Million Bobby Bland,
B.B. King,
Exciters,
Hans Rodman Henry.
all right. Well, that's all we buy, you know.
Have you any thoughts on your next tour and the if and when you do? Are you planning on going to the western part of the country, for instance, Wyoming, Colorado?
We don't. Do they plan another tour? And if they did, would they include the western states like Colorado, Montana, and Wyoming?
No, the tours are planned, they're all planned for us. We don't plan them ourselves. So we don't really know what's going to happen about
Mr. Epstein plans them. He's standing behind me.
We'd like to, I'd like to go to all the places we haven't been to.
Thank you. Like you can.
When Paul and John words of the music, and how long does it generally take?
Well, there's no formula actually. We just sort of good friends. It can happen anyway, and it can take any amount of time, from half an hour to a couple of weeks. No, never.
Yes.
Have you had a chance to see any of these supporting acts or put you on stage before your appearance? Have you opinion of them at all?
Have they seen and have they any opinion of the supporting acts on their show?
They're all very good.
They're all good. We saw them at that place. Where was the one? West. No, I saw them. Yeah, big stage. I saw them last night, maybe. I can't remember. Where was last night? Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
They're all of a high standard.
Is there a girl in red there? Could you describe what you?
Winkle pickle shoes.
What are winkle pickers?
We never wore
those 8 years ago.
very long pointed shoes.
There's a lady in glasses there. Yes, with a badge on. Oh, she wants the drawing.
Oh, yes.
Nice. What's your name? Barbara, the drawing. Keep the noise down, there's good children.
The fellows have asked that they throw streamers here. These jelly bean garages and causing any problems on stage.
They hurt, and we could lose an eye that way. Streamers are much nicer. About 2 more minutes for questions before radio.
Getting back to food again, could we have a poll right down the line of the foods you miss the most from England?
Pardon? Food we miss the most from England. Who do we miss the most in England? Food? I'm sorry. Not always easy to hear. What food do you miss, Ringo?
Well, it's roughly the same over here. It's just the way you cook it, you know.
Same for me, you know. Handy. Don't miss any food, just the way you cook it. Sausages and mash. Sausages and mash. You get that thrown at you tonight. Right. No. Not true.
Do any of you like pizza?
I don't. Pizza Paul and Murphy. Never eaten. Miss Williams?
We'll be on your New York charity show. Same group.
American cakes.
American cakes? What do they think about the Rolling Stones, the British group?
Yeah.
We're good friends of theirs. Yeah, very good. Not the truth. Don't like your cakes, though. Nor your tea. Yes, sir. Coffee's nice, good.
Yes, well, here we are at the Nine Dragons, and the boys have just arrived. They're shaking hands with Bob Sowers of the President Hotel, and Bob has just issued them to their place. We're explaining how the microphones work, and my goodness, the boys themselves are having a field day. I'm standing just behind them. Those haircuts are really marvelous.
Press representative who will carry on from here.
A late Beatle here.
Thank you so much for turning out. May I introduce you to the Beatles, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison.
That was John Lennon laughing.
And in the absence of Ringo Starr, whose perspective will be illustrated on Thursday, Jimmy Nichols.
Thank you, Jimmy. Okay.
Yeah, and Jimmy too is sporting a Beatle cut also.
This will be followed by talking interviews and writing interviews for about 20 minutes.
Talking, yes.
Which will be followed by radio.
Right, what?
We would be obliged if the photographers. I wasn't told. I would be obliged if the photographers, after the first 15 minutes, would move away so that the people with the notebooks come forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Very good. Correct.
Right, we'll have some good-natured jostling by the boys themselves. Let me describe the scene here to you. We're standing just behind the four Beatles themselves. Jimmy Nicol, the new Beatle, is on the right, and he looks exactly the same. As for the rest of them, well, they look just like the pictures. Very good-looking boys, and boys are obviously having a very good time and reveling in it as they're sitting here facing a battery of news cameras. I should tell you, I've been at press conferences for almost every celebrity and movie star, recording star here in Hong Kong. I've never seen a crowd such as this. And now they're making up a little group to make a better picture. They're all getting together, and they're absolutely blinded here by popping flashbulbs. Absolutely blinded by them, and the big arc lights coming on for a television show. They're all in a very tight little group here, looking very much as if they're enjoying themselves, and the photographers are having an absolute field day. I've never quite seen anything like it. They're popping away, shouting, asking for new poses, and the four boys are with their heads in a sort of diamond shape. John Lennon is on the left, on the top Paul McCartney, and on the right Jimmy McNichol. And the fourth Beatle is sitting down at the table with the four of them grouped very tightly around them. They both, considering they've flown all the way out from London, considering I'll say, says John Lennon there, all the way out from London, looking very fresh and not tired a bit. And also looking as if they still get a great kick out of this sort of adoration, I think is the best way to describe it. Well, the manager of the president promised me a little earlier that it was going to be a well-ordered press conference, and so far it is. Nick Kendall.
I'd like to mention that Jimmy Nicol, who's just joined the group, is working very well on that Beatle haircut. He's almost up to the other Beatles, as a matter of fact. If you notice that, it's not quite to the eyebrows, but it's coming along great, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's all over the, it's about the same length at the back. It's enough to give the Sergeant Major of the Guards Division a heart attack, I should imagine. What do you think of all this, Patricia?
Well, I think it's quite extraordinary because they remind me of medieval actors walked straight out of a Henry the Shakespearean play, rather crude sort of soldiers. And it's so odd to hear these very rough voices coming out of these long haircuts.
Yes, well, it is indeed, and I think Pat is taking a very mature view of the whole proceedings, as indeed she was at the airport. Certainly we've never seen a crowd at the airport quite the size as that crowd that got out there to greet them today. And now on come the arc lights, the big Klieg lights, as the movie cameras begin to whirl, and we're standing facing them, just behind the Beatles themselves, and almost blinded by it all. I suppose the lads themselves are quite used to this sort of thing, and certainly photographers are having a field day.
I'd like to ask John Lennon if he likes the Beatles himself. Imagine he hears his records quite often. I don't think I should ask him now, though, because the time has been allocated to the photographers, and they must be at least 6 or 7 deep. Oh, a movie star or something has arrived. I think it's the Thai movie stars have arrived here, and this has brought the Beatles to their feet. Yes, it is. They've been here for a fashion show at the hotel. They're being introduced by Frankie Blaine, and the Beatles there even combing their hair, I think, because of this.
Combing our hair, that's a lie. He's lying to you, listeners. Correct?
That was the voice of John Lennon.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's any suspicion of hair combing going on amongst these boys. At the moment, two beautiful young ladies just arrived, beautiful Thai film stars, according to Nick, who knows most of the beautiful girls around town, have been introduced and now in the place of honor in front of the Beatles themselves. Now they're causing quite a stir. Nick Kendall's getting his face in there, Come to think of it, I've never seen a face of a movie star at a press conference without seeing Nick Kendall's face in there somewhere. They're all together, and the Beatles are making a great fuss of these guys. Really enjoying all the noises from the photographers, press photographers themselves. They're shouting, "Kiss her, kiss her!" But nobody's accepted the invitation, and even this beautiful Thai girl has got herself excited about the proceedings here. A firm word from Paul McCartney there, telling the lads to behave themselves. They're all grinning and laughing and having a marvelous time of it. Little conversation going on there. What's happening, Nick?
Well, I was just remarking on what the boys are wearing here. Paul McCartney's got a rather madras-looking sort of jacket, and John is wearing a dark blue blazer, I think, and he's got a checked shirt. Jimmy Nicol is wearing a dark jacket, a light blue tie. And George Harrison has got a light gray jacket on with a black velvet collar, I believe. And I just noticed how long their hair is. You notice that it covers their ears? They probably can't hear themselves when they sing.
The strangest thing there, a little man popped up from the middle of the crowd, marched forward in between John Lennon and Paul, forced himself between them, put his arms around the two of them, and all the cameras fired off. So that's the shot of a lifeline for somebody, particularly if he himself is a Beatle fan. And I think just about everyone here is a Beatle fan in Hong Kong. If they're not, then they're missing a lot of fun, because they certainly look like a very nice crowd of boys.
I noticed two of the boys are taking the opportunity to light up a cigarette. George Harrison and Jimmy Nicol have lit up a cigarette. Now they're sitting down, the two Thai movie stars directly in the middle, and Beatles on both sides here. John Lennon and Paul McCartney on one side, and Jimmy Nicol and George Harrison on the other side. And now we're going to have a young lady who is going to be introduced to the Beatles. I believe her name is Lydia Sung.
Yes, Lydia, what are you going to do with that?
Well, I'm going to ask them to autograph it for me.
Oh, Lydia's has got a large picture of the Beatles around a fountain or in a garden, and she's going to go forward and ask them to autograph it.
Another girl here too. I think her name is Carol Baxter. She's going to be introduced to the Beatles because she won a contest. I like the Beatles because she is around somewhere too, and the Beatles will be meeting her, and it'll be a thrill of a lifetime for her, because I understand that she'll be having her picture taken with the Beatles that she liked so much and could put in words so eloquently.
Yes, I wonder what's happened to that little girl. She was well to the front a few moments ago, Nick. She didn't get stampeded in the rush, did she? Wouldn't be surprised to see anyone trampled underfoot for this sort of thing. But anyway, that was Lydia Sung, who just came forward for her autograph picture. Ow! That was a chair which just landed on my foot.
I understand that. Carol Baxter is not here. She got so excited or ill or something that she's gone. They took her away or something. She got overcome with excitement, I guess.
Oh, what a great pity. Well, if she's anything like as excited as all those kids at the airport were, about 2,000 of them crowding out there on the apron of the airport trying to get at them, then she's a very excited girl indeed. Well, more pictures. We've promised, or at least the President Hotel, Bob Sowers, has promised that the photographers could have 15 minutes of their time here to fire pictures. And a notable feature of all press conferences in Hong Kong, of course, is that the press can't get a chance to ask questions because the photographers sort of hog the proceedings. Yes, I just got a word of confirmation from John Lennon. John Lennon, the writer, by the way. John, whose book you probably heard on Radio Hong Kong, being reviewed on Radio Hong Kong in his own right, which is selling like hotcakes, but nothing like the records, I understand.
Our books don't sell like records, as long as they don't eat the book.
All right. Well, there must have been. I hope that they haven't been eating the records either. That was John, whose book you will hear dramatized in the special Beatles program being broadcast this evening at 9:10 by Radio Hong Kong. Now, I hope that in just a moment or two, when the press photographers get through, we're going to have the opportunity of asking a few questions with the rest of the press. So far, everything quite orderly, but of course the usual confusion when there's a press of people, such as there is at this moment.
2 more minutes for pictures will probably be enough, and then if all the photographers would go back about 12 feet to allow the writers in, that would be most helpful. Correct.
Getting allowed here. That's Mr. Taylor, the manager on the road with them, who has asked that question, which we somehow think will not be responded to. Photographers in Hong Kong tend not to back off, despite how many rolls of film they've taken. What do you say, Nick?
Well, it's going to be interesting to find out what the reaction is when the 2 minutes are up here. I don't know how they're going to get them back if they decide they don't want to be moved and hold their ground, which is what they might do. But then again, there was sort of an agreement made with the others that this would be the procedure, and if they don't, we'll probably boo them away, won't we?
That's, I believe one of the Beatles is traveling with his wife, isn't he?
One of the Beatles is married, John Lennon, but I'm not sure if his wife is traveling with him.
They don't want to go.
I don't think so. An interesting note I'd like to mention here, that a real aspect of show business was very vividly and dramatically shown to me at Kai Tak. When everybody was screaming for the Beatles, I noticed a group of 6 musicians. They looked like musicians, and I said to myself, this is probably the group known as Sounds Incorporated. Nobody spoke to them, nobody asked them for an autograph because they're not the stars. So it just goes to show you that it's not all fame and fortune. There are people that are still struggling to reach and attain stardom, and you get completely ignored, like I mentioned, the Sounds Incorporated group. 6 very, very charming fellows.
Well, I must take my hat off to Frankie Blaine there. It's the first time I've ever seen it happen at a press conference. But Frank Blaine, I should tell you, is about 6'10" tall and about the same width across the shoulders. And he has managed something I've never seen at a press conference in Hong Kong before. He's managed to get the photographers out of it so that the press people can have a word. What do you think of that, Pat?
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said. I was being pestered by a little chap who wants me to use me as a collector of autographs.
I was very impressed. I think because their cameras are so hot they couldn't hold them anymore, and they just walked to the back to cool off a bit.
The astonishing thing is that photographers seem to take about a full roll of 36 films, those shooting in 35mm. And yet, quite often, none of these pictures appear in the paper. I'm sure that won't happen today. Today is B-Day, Beatle Day, and the Beatles are here to answer questions by the press.
Mr. Nichol, how do you feel being rushed into this vast order of publicity all at once?
It's the most exciting experience.
Correct.
Which is the Beatles' password, I think. Every time a question is asked, there's unanimous agreement with a shout of correct. Andy Pereira going to ask a question, I think.
According to the Newsweek article which appeared in February, George and Paul are supposed to have said that you people are just a bunch of crummy musicians. You don't do a thing, etc. How were you able to get to the top then?
Who said we were?
You said. You did.
We said.
I remember.
When we told them we couldn't play.
Well, I don't know.
Use the mic.
Yeah. This one. Oh.
What?
What's that, George? What's your answer?
You said in the paper
I said in the paper. How come you've got all that money?
Interpretation there.
We're very
we don't profess to be good musicians, but whatever it is, it sells. And, we don't know why.
It doesn't, that'll be put wrong, whatever it is.
John picked the name, Beatles. Why did you pick the name Beatles, John?
Not my fault.
Hello?
It's not on. Bob, your mic's up. Bob.
We're having a bit of microphone trouble here.
Just a name by any other.
Just a name by any other rose.
Pardon?
John Lennon speaking.
Well, why does anybody pick any name? It's because the one they like best. I thought it was a good name at the time.
Good.
Well, you want to say it's a nice one? I say. Crawley. You see, it's a pun. Jolly good. Pun. Funny, isn't it? Go on then, go on.
You've had a chance to see something of Asia's beauty.
Lovely.
Once you've arrived, what's your impression?
Marvellous. Beautiful. Very good. Isn't it? Yeah. It is very good. Testing the mic. Of course I have it off.
Well,
yeah.
So you're testing it now, eh? On the testing. Okay.
Yes, very great and marvellous. Love it.
John, could I ask you a question?
He's in the army.
That's right.
He's in the army.
With all this travelling about, how do you get time to rehearse?
Pardon?
How do you get time to rehearse?
We don't.
You don't rehearse?
We do, but we rehearse with Jimmy, because he's new. You see?
Oh.
You can see him again later. Oh, he's terrible.
Look, one of the reports made here was that you'd chosen Hong Kong yourselves. You've been offered several places, and that you yourselves had chosen Hong Kong. Is that true?
Yes.
Why was that?
Because we wanted to see it.
Any reports from other show business personalities coming back?
All of them. All like it.
We've heard a lot about it anyway.
They all like it.
Since we were kids.
What sort of journey did you have on the way out?
Very bad. Well, it wasn't a bad journey. It was just so long, you know.
Could we please have questions coming from the front of the house and not individual interviews from the back?
I thought that was all. I thought that was all.
I'd like to ask the Beatles if they'll answer one question. I understand some money that's coming to them soon for one of their performances or a recording is going to endow a scholarship to send to Liverpool into Gordon's tour. Is this true?
Yeah, it's the money made from the premiere of our film in Liverpool.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. The film, all the money that they make goes to a charity.
Why did you choose particularly Gordon's tune as a school for someone to go there from Liverpool?
Because it's a good art school.
Did you get that?
Yeah.
Good.
What?
Also, it's on the way down south.
What'd you say?
You get right off the buses.
Why did we?
We don't know. It was picked for us, actually.
Yeah. We didn't pick the charity. We just sort of appear and they make the money and give it to whoever they feel like, I think.
Is this the first charity?
No.
What was the first one you ever did?
I don't know.
With Ken Dodd in McGull.
Ken Dodd in McGull. You don't know.
With Ken Dodd.
Comedian.
McGull.
Teeth.
I've heard it.
That's right. Teeth.
It's very good.
Are you going to, whilst you're here, take a look at some of the poverty that exists in Hong Kong?
No, if we can help it.
He got it.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, there's a lot.
And we won't have time anyway. We'll probably be stuck in the hotel.
We're going to the good bits, you know.
Well, I have to get there.
Terrible capitalists. Yeah.
May I ask you what your parents think of all this?
Pardon?
What do you think of Martin? What do they do?
I don't know. You know, good publicity, aren't they? There is something to write about.
China. Are you interested in going to China?
Pardon, where are we?
We're not far off, actually, are we?
I thought we were there, actually.
I thought, isn't this China?
Isn't this it? What's he saying?
I could have sworn. No?
I think you got on the wrong plane, haven't you? Yes?
Eddie Mannery here, National Radio.
Hello, Eddie.
Hi. Why did you choose to come to Hong Kong before Manila and Japan?
Well, nobody asked me to go to Manila and Japan. Did they ask you?
No.
Where's Manila? Well, I don't know. I'd like to know where they are.
Well, it's just as popular as Hong Kong.
It's just hanging off the bottom.
Oh, that one.
We're not very good at
Are you doing any shopping while you're in Hong Kong?
Yes.
You looking for anything special?
No.
But somebody said.
Asking questions.
Somebody. Yeah. Somebody said you can get.
Oh,
very good.
What were your feelings as a recipient of great success in the States when, after a number of great inventors, that an old timer like Louis Armstrong finally did place you with the number one high dolly?
Well, when you've got to go, you've got to go, and you might as well go with Louis Armstrong as anyone else, mightn't you? He's a good lad.
Recording High Dolly and
It's called Hello, Dolly.
Well, hello, Dolly.
it does, you know.
I bet you didn't buy it.
To the fellow that wrote it. You make a lot of money, you know.
No, we don't want to thingy.
Hi, Duffy.
Yes.
No, we don't record it. No, it's jazz.
Yes.
How would you judge your reception at Kai Tak Airport? Which reception did you receive when visiting other countries?
It's been great.
A good comparison.
Yeah, it was very good.
Very good.
It was just like. No, it was about the same as we've had recently at other airports.
George, they tell me that you arrived in London the other day and only 2 people turned up. Some of you arrived and 2
3.
3. I'm sorry.
Five.
Well, I took the Daily Express and, you know, you can't believe them. What happened?
They were all round Ringo's bed in the hospital.
You'll never leave it.
It's true.
Oh, dear. Any questions? think, look at them, all screaming.
You know, it's the same feeling as footballers must get when they come out onto a football field. It's a marvellous feeling inside, you know, and it's the same every time.
That's Jimmy, because it's music.
It's a great feeling. No, actually, you get irritated when the screams go down a bit.
Well, I don't think they'd ban us, but it might be funny with a tax, I've heard. Well, we don't vote, so we don't mind. We don't vote anyway, so
Why don't you go?
we don't want to.
That's fine.
How do you like the girls at Hong Kong?
Well, I don't know.
Well, from what we've seen, they're great. Everywhere you go, there's some good and some bad, aren't there?
Yes, true,
I'm
George,
not
true.
arguing. I'm with you. Correct. Correct.
Gentlemen, Stan Rich, American Broadcasting Company.
Hey, Stan, how
You're
you
a little
doing?
bit out of my league, so I got to turn you over to my 12-year-old son here. He's got a couple of questions.
Oh, excuse us, we're doing a radio show.
Okay, listen, Graham, can we have the radio people out for a moment?
Are you joking? No, we just, anybody does ours, anybody who happens to have scissors. Right? Correct.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oliver Twist.
No.
Oliver Twist.
Oliver Twist.
And often created by techniques. How do you say?
No, we didn't.
Didn't know that.
We didn't know Oliver Twist had a Beatle haircut. Yes?
No, it's just a rumour.
Do you get your head cut?
It just depends. Usually about once every blue moon.
John, could you tell us something about the book that you've written?
It's selling well.
What made you write it, you know? What is it about?
It's about nothing really. I just do it for a hobby, you know. I've done it for many years.
Have you any idea how many copies you've sold already?
No, because I changed my phone number and the fella can't get in touch with me to tell me.
John, somebody suggested that I've read some of it. It looked as though Lewis Carroll sort of had something to do with it. Did you ever read Lewis Carroll when you were young?
Yes, Alice in Wonderland, that's all, and The Looking Glass.
And Louis Armstrong.
Oh, he was
Then a
another one,
couple of
yeah.
his.
It's also been said that you were fairly well educated. Could you prove it?
No, I'm not.
You didn't go to school.
Oh, of course, I had to. The state made me.
How long were you actually?
Till I was about 18, 19, I've forgotten.
What?
Oh, school, innit? That's school, innit?
Sorry, John.
All right, correct.
You're taking your mothers to Australia, is this right?
Well, Paul and I aren't.
Incorrect.
No,
John's
it's a little
just
bit
my
mixed up.
auntie's
Just
going
his
to
auntie.
Australia, that's all.
Actually, we haven't got.
She's resting.
But we hear reports that some of you are bringing your mothers.
Ah, well,
we
you
heard
see,
that
you're on the
too.
wrong agency.
That was the
No.
Daily Mail.
Are you all sworn brothers or black brothers?
No, we never swear.
That's what he said.
We're just good friends.
Oh, sorry. Oh, excuse me. Tell him.
First, I'll say to you first, Mary. Thank you. Mary Collins, Commercial Radio. You're going to Australia, and I heard you're learning some Chinese words. Do you want to listen on some Australian greetings?
Yes, please.
How are you, mate?
How are you, mate?
Oh, you may got that English, yes.
And are you going to Bondi Beach?
Third Dinkum. I've heard that one.
Oh, you can teach me.
Third Dinkum, yeah.
Now tell me about your hairdo before I finish off. Now, who thought of this idea?
Nobody, you know. It was just a hairdo that we'd seen someone with, and we liked it, and it developed. You know, we used to wear longer anyway.
Can you settle that now? A lot
Yeah.
of people say you're wearing your own legal wigs. Is it real?
Well, do you want to pull it?
Yes, may I?
Yeah. Every press
I'm about
conference.
to pull people's hair.
There you
It's
go.
real.
It's real. Okay.
Ah, thank God for the wig maker.
It's another one. Pulled another one. Yeah.
Hello?
I represent the SPCA, and I'd like to know what people consider cruelty to beetles.
What is it?
What's the SPCA, please?
Ah, the RMS.
No, that's royal.
Oh, I like the royal ones.
Cruelty to Beatles.
What is it? Not buying the records, maybe?
Yes.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Very cool.
3 or 4 more minutes for questions.
You always get them.
Questions.
How do your mothers feel about the business that you're in?
Now look, son. Look here, son.
Leave it to your dad.
Going back to social radio, could you tell us, John, please, out of all the records that you've made, which one you were most satisfied with?
Well, I always like, and I think the others do, the one we've just made, you know, because you get a bit tired of the others. So whenever we make a new one, we like that best.
Which one is your latest?
Well, at the moment, it's Long Tall Sally, although we've been singing it for 8 years.
And the one from the film.
All right, we get a plug in. And there's a couple in the film.
Recording Can't Buy Me Love.
Honoured, flattered, flattened.
Eddie Mannering, Commercial Radio. What do you think of the causes? That's right, we're all here. What are the causes of these cults, mods and rockers?
It's something to do.
No, it's just that people, like new fashions anyway. You always get some people who don't, but it's just happened to have developed into a cult. The ones who do like the new fashions have gone mad about it.
I don't think they're going, the mods especially, going a bit too far when they wear pink shirts and high heel shoes.
Well, what's right?
They've got to get away from the in-betweens, haven't they? What else can they do?
No, but I mean, I'll tell you, that's nothing.
Pink shirts.
That's nothing.
They've got handbags.
Handbags and eye makeup, that's a bit far.
Yeah, well, we only just heard about it. Great news. Well, I think it's a bit...
Well, that's a bit, I would.
Can you tell us something about your act while you're in Hong Kong? Are you going to do anything special?
No, just sing.
Just usually.
Sing and tap off toes.
New songs or anything like that?
No, sir, if you don't play people new songs, they play them what they want to hear, the ones they bought.
Yeah.
John, you've written quite a few songs. Nick Kendall, Radio Hong Kong. Will you be writing a song with a Chinese flavor, do you think?
No, Nick. No, Nick.
No.
Definitely not Nick. Hello.
What do you think of Tuesday Well?
Very nice, yes.
Saturday night's much better.
Yes, very nice too. Charming.
Oh, I see.
I see.
Excuse me, for the radio questions, we seem to be infiltrating. Can I ask if there are any more press men with questions as opposed to radio men?
Correct.
He's first.
The youngsters here everywhere nowadays are being infected by so-called Beatlemania. How do you think about it?
It's very good. It's good for the business and it's good for the teenagers.
Good or no good?
It's good.
Good.
Mr. Nichol,
Yes.
when Ringo Starr joined the group in Australia, what happened to you?
Well, I go back to London and things seem to be jumping in London. So, I've got a couple of television shows and a band's being formed and everything. So it looks as though things might happen for me,
George,
Yes?
you and Miles Segovia, have you learned anything about guitar playing from him?
I have never met him, and I haven't learned anything from him. I've learned a little bit, not very much, from his records. Thank you.
What do you think Mrs. Lennon thinks of the Beatles?
She rather likes them.
The other boys.
No, because I never go with them.
Well, on that note, I think can I ask now? First of all, thank you very much for being so civilized and so good and so quiet. And can I ask all the people on the front row to move away so that the radio men can sit there?
We are the radio men.
I know, but there may be radio men who weren't quite as close and advantageously placed as you. Right, well, away from the radio men. Thanks very much.
I admire your audacity.
I don't think so.
Tell me, John, have you ever been frightened by some of the crowds that they get very, very close to you?
No autographs, please. Come on.
fellas. Please, no, I'm sorry. Not now.
Well, a bunch of the cameramen apparently put their cameras away and got bits of paper. John?
You asked me about getting in front.
You get frightened by the crowds. I mean, sometimes they really converge on you, don't they?
Yeah, but we're usually very well protected, you know. The only thing, sometimes you get frightened somebody's going to get bumped by the car, you know, because some people throw themselves in the car.
I noticed one of the Dave Clark 5 got hit by a stone somewhere.
Yeah, it was very bad, you know. I feel sorry for him.
And sometimes the young
We've
children...
been hit by things on stage, but we try and ask them not to throw anything, sweets or anything at all. Rather send them, if they're going to send anything, throwing is anything that throws danger.
What about working with guitars that aren't amplified? Do you think that you rely a lot on the amplification?
No, that's just a myth that the press have made up. Everybody who sings or plays any instrument relies on amplification to get it broadcast. Even a concert hall, they need microphones, things normally to pick it up. And we can play the same music on an unamplified guitar. It's just the same, and you wouldn't be able to hear it. We record sometimes with an amplified guitar. A lot of our records are like that.
How about when you get some time to relax? How do you unwind and relax a bit? You do a bit of writing, is that right?
I like to write just for myself, you know. And
do you have a pet food that you like?
No, you know, I go off food. I'm off it at the moment because we've been eating all the way over on this plane.
It's a pretty hectic sort of life, almost like being in a goldfish bowl or something. I mean, do you find it?
But, you know, we can always sneak out for a fly around the room. That's if we're budgies, man.
Yes, you had a nice holiday a little while ago, too, didn't you? You slipped off the Caribbean, wasn't it?
Tahiti.
How was that? I understand the girls gave you a hard time because of your long hair as you were strolling down the streets of Papiti.
They all thought we were a bit funny, which is, I mean, don't blame them. They've never seen hair like it. You know, we used to suffer that before we were known. People used to think we were a bit odd.
Well, I must congratulate you for being very, very natural and very, very nice. We often meet celebrities sometimes, and we feel that they're doing everybody a favor, but you fellas are really down to earth. I appreciate that very much. Paul, you've written all the songs. You and John together written most of the hit songs, haven't you? Yeah. How do you have any formula or any system that you use when you're writing these songs?
No, you know, they happen lots of different ways. Sometimes maybe he'll write a whole song himself, and I will, you know. But we always say that we both wrote it. We've both written it.
Yeah. I just wonder what came first, maybe the lyric or the tune.
Well, that's another thing, you know. Sometimes the lyric does come first, sometimes the tune, sometimes both together. Sometimes he'll do one line, sometimes I'll do one line. It's very, very.
I noticed that some other singers are singing your material too. Do you feel that you shouldn't record it all and you write it for somebody else?
No, the thing, yeah, you know, I mean, I think it's silly if we record everything because we're just pushing it down people's throats. And I think if we can get different sounds with our songs, then people like them better. With a recent example with Peter and Gordon in England, who recorded "Well Without Love," and it's gone right to the top of America, England, everywhere. Yeah.
What about your money? Are you investing it in any sort of trust fund?
Yeah, I don't know about it really because our accountant deals with it, you know, so we don't know an awful lot about it.
That tax must take a pretty good chunk out of it. I see. Well, thanks ever so much.
Okay.
George? Oh, sorry, all right. George is busy talking to another reporter. I think I have a word with Jimmy Nicholas. Jimmy, have you got a moment? One thing I would like to ask, what is the group's own favourite group? Apart from yourselves, I mean, what kind of music do you go for when you're not playing yourselves? Or what is yours, all right? You can't speak for them.
Well, they like all types of things, you know. They like a lot of American groups as well as a lot of English ones, you know.
When you say American groups, do you mean?
Well, no, not groups. I mean, you know, artists, people like Chuck Berry and those type of people.
What about old jazz, New Orleans?
Well, I can't speak for them about that, but I particularly don't like it. You know, I like things that move on all the time.
For instance, Brubeck?
Well, yes, I like Brubeck, but I think there's, you know, my own particular favourite is Cannonball Adderley. And Ellington and Basie, of course, you know. Yeah, well, you see, the difference between difference with me is that I've played in big bands and I've played, you know, arrangements by all these people, and I have loads of tapes at home of Adderley and good Latin American music, you know.
Jimmy, when you stepped in instead of Ringo, how did this happen? How did they?
Well, I just had lunch and they got. I'm fairly well known, you know, as a session drummer in England. I do quite a lot of sessions for big artists, you know, and well, it was just a telephone call and it was very mysterious. First of all, you know, nobody wanted to commit themselves, so I had to go along to EMI and I met them for the first time and just rehearsed about 5 numbers and then was told that was it.
You said earlier on things are hopping in London. What does this mean? When you get back, you've got all sorts of things lined up.
Yeah, well, I made one record, you know, in London which didn't go. I tried 2 months ago. I tried to make my own band happen, you know, like everybody does, you know, a chance get a recording contract. But now I had the band, but I didn't have any work. But now it looks as though I've got the work, but I've got the band. Yeah.
So when you go back, you have to get a group together.
Well, that's being arranged. You know, people have taken it on them. You know, my manager is sorting it out, but obviously I want to supervise it naturally. You know.
Well, good luck to you anyway.
Thank you.
I'm glad you got such a good start.
You've been compared with Lewis Carroll.
That was Jimmy Nicol, and I think I see Paul McCartney now having a word. George Harrison's talking. Let's see if we can pick up what he's saying anyway.
Bought all the tickets, so they can't be disappointed.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
What was that question about?
He said something about, did I know the teenagers in America were disappointed because we weren't going there in July, which is a lot of rubbish anyway, because it was never intended for us to go there in July.
George, you were with the Beatles from the start, were you?
Yes.
And the Beatles are responsible for this, what's called the Mersey beat?
Yeah, well, the time that we started to make records, all the current trend in Britain was Cliff Richard and the Shadows. It was sort of ballads and things, but we'd been playing for years, ever since the first rock and roll started. Well, we didn't like the ballad stuff, so we just carried on playing it, and eventually we wrote our own songs, and when we managed to record, then they caught on, and it sort of brought it back, and then all the groups changed over again.
How do you feel about all these other groups following your style now?
It's great. I mean, they say it's the biggest form of flattery, isn't it?
George, you've certainly made a fantastic success. The Beatles have been a terrific success, but do you yourselves really think that you've got talent?
Yeah. I don't. The thing is,
the sound is no different, is it? It's just like any other rock and roll group.
Well, the sound's no different now, but when we first started recording, it was because no other groups were recording in that style. But now everybody's recording like us, so it's not different. But the thing is, none of us possess to be individually to be great musicians or very talented.
It's mainly just luck.
No, but the thing is, as a group, I think we're good. I think we're much better as a group than we are individually, and that's one reason why we'd never go solo.
How much was it? How much was the suit and the clothes and the haircut as compared to the actual music, though? It was the gimmick of the haircut more than anything else, don't you think?
Well, the thing is, the people heard our records before they saw us. So, I mean, maybe the records, maybe the hairstyles and our clothing, just us helped.
You're not on top of the hit parade anymore now. How long do you think it'll be before you're finished, do you think?
Oh, I don't know. We don't care, you know. We just go for as long as we last. And when we do fade out, we'll have things to do. We won't worry.
What do you see yourselves doing? I mean, when you fade out, I mean, maybe it takes a year, 2 years, 5 years. What do you see yourselves doing after this? You can't go on till you're old men with this kind of haircut, for example, really, can you?
We've thought about it. We'll have music, songwriting, mainly Paul and John, music publishing, record production, you know, all sorts of things, and small business.
Becoming businessmen.
Well, I don't know, but you know, we'll be all right.
How much money have you actually made? Do you know?
I don't know. Our accountant's still trying to work that out. He's trying to save some from the tax.
Do you draw a sort of a living wage from all these earnings, or how do you actually work?
We just get enough money to last us for the week.
How much is that?
Enough for cigarettes and things, because we have all our hotel bills and everything sent to onto an account, onto the company.
We hear figures of millions and millions of pounds that you're being made. No, what do you live
it's
on
It's
now?
often being quoted that we're all millionaires, but I think that's untrue. In fact, I know it's untrue.
But not if you compare it to the numbers of records you've sold. They've sold millions of records. You must get, just on a straight calculation, you work it out.
It's all right working out how much money we've made out of records and shows, but that's all before the tax about their part. And the tax...
What about your American earnings, though? Is that American tax?
Of course.
And English tax?
No, there's just the English tax, I think. But it's still, they try and take 18 and 3 out of every pound, which is a lot. Isn't it?
Are you happy?
Yes, very.
Why are you happy?
Because I enjoy doing what we're doing.
This sort of publicity and the hard life and everything, you're still happy?
It's okay. I'm feeling a bit tired today because we've been flying for 2 days or something, but normally, I'm feeling much better.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think this should conclude the press conference now. I think everybody's had a very good crack of the whip. So if you would just say goodbye and go, we'd be most grateful. We thank you very much and say goodbye from the Beatles.
I just want to ask you one last thing. When you have free time, what do you do with it?
Well, it depends where we are. If we're in England, we go out at night to theatres, nightclubs, or go driving, or see movies.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all for it.
John's Uncle Charlie Lennon is a caring, compassionate friend of Beatle fans everywhere, always ready to sit down with Beatle people and talk about the good old days with his brother Fred and young John. He is that rarest of all creatures in the phenomenal world of Beatledom, a genuine eyewitness to the formation of a legend. Here he sings an original ballad beckoning back to the first bygone days of Beatlemania in Liverpool.
Ships of the Mersey that sailed away from the shores, they have been and gone and left us, never to return no more. Oh, come back to the Mersey, to the sounds of twist and shout. We'll keep a welcome here on Merseyside, of that there is no doubt. The live bird is silent, it's got nothing to shout about. It's seen the ships come in each day, and it's seen them all go out. But now those days are over, they were the scenes of the past. Now all the live bird hears these days is the chimes of the live clock.
Geoffrey Giuliano is the author of some 30 internationally best-selling books on the Beatles, John Lennon, and other iconic musicians of the 1960s. In 2006, his book, Paint It Black, The Murder of Brian Jones, was made into a film by Stephen Woolley and Nick Powell entitled Stoned, The Wild and Wicked World of Brian Jones. It remains a cult classic and the only film bio of the Rolling Stones. Giuliano is also a veteran journalist, having written for dozens of high-profile newspapers and magazines, including The Sunday People, The Daily Mail, The News of the World, The Mail on Sunday, Playgirl, and Rolling Stone. A noted film actor, Giuliano starred in such movies as Vikingdom, Scorpion King 3, Jules Verne's The Mysterious Island, The Fifth Execution, Far Cry 3, Fire Desire, among many. In addition, he hosted the long-running North American syndicated radio series, Geoffrey Giuliano's Roots of Rock, for 5 years, as well as pioneering the audiobook industry in the 1990s by authoring, narrating, and producing over 250 original, non-book-based, interview-driven productions. Giuliano's publishers included Random House, HarperCollins, Delta Entertainment, Durkin Hayes, Playaway Audio, Speechworks, and B&B Audio, among dozens more internationally. In 1998, Random House acquired his firm Tribute Audio, for which Giuliano acted as CEO and publisher for 5 years. His best-selling audiobook, That Fateful Night, True Stories of Titanic Survivors in Their Own Words, was nominated for a Grammy. In 2014, Geoffrey Giuliano founded Icon Editions and G2 Media Arts to market his updated works as well as publish new projects. As a visual artist, Geoffrey has been showing in galleries across America since 1977, garnering impressive reviews. His first professional assignment was designing several T-shirts for The Who's Pete Townsend in 1976. Geoffrey also designed and illustrated many of his original rock biographies for the biggest publishers in the world from 1984 to 2006, as well as designing for his pioneering record label, Samba Records, in the mid-1990s. From 2006 to 2011, Geoffrey was also the primary designer for the French fashion house Cotai. When Giuliano first conceived of creating his own literary imprint, Icon Editions, he became responsible for illustrating and designing 35 book covers, several hundred CDs, DVDs, as well as dozens of promotional posters, and eventually an entire collection of exclusive fashion and art. The expansive Design by Giuliano brand grew out of Geoffrey's impressive commitment to the arts and is the culmination of a lifetime's work by an extraordinarily talented and determined Renaissance man.